Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We are going to be continuing the keys to Arabic and now beginning to speak about the meanings of the letters. So I've titled this The Secrets of the Arabic Letters. If in fact we go back a bit, all the way to the beginning, we spoke quite thoroughly about different dimensions of the Arabic language. And over here, bringing it back here, we said that there are different ways to understand what the Arabic language is. Right, one is Lughat al-Arab, the language of the Arabs, especially the Arab at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they had the most refined and eloquent language, and that is on this earthly plane in this dunya. From this perspective of space and time, there's this Arabic language, which is a language inside of a culture, inside of a people on earth, which is true. However, this worldly language is a mirror and a manifestation of the cosmic language, al-Lughat al-Arabiyyah, the cosmic language of the Quran. This cosmic language is a perfectly mathematical, symmetrical, archetypal language. It is the archetypal language of meanings themselves. And that is why Arabic is the language of God. When we say that, of course, we don't mean this spoken, verbal, physical Arabic, but this physical Arabic, like the body, the physical body, is manifesting and reflecting something deeper. This cosmic Arabic, al-ma'ani, the meanings in the mind of God, the divine archetypes themselves, things as they truly are, the essences of things. Now, if the word al-kalima is an archetype in this Platonic sense, that is, we have all these things in the world, but everything manifests some ma'na, some essence. We see the sky above us, but the physical sky is a manifestation of the idea of the sky, as-sama. Kun fayakun. God spake sky, and so the sky was. He spake light, and so light was. That word which God spoke was the ma'na. A word not as a physical thing, not even as a mental concept. When we speak about the language of God, we're not talking about concepts, because God is pure unity, but the pure meaning, which is undifferentiated. God spoke that archetypal meaning into being. Now, if they are the letters, or if they are the words, then what are the letters? If the words of God are the archetypes of all things, if the words of God are the inmost essences of reality, then what are the letters of God? What do the letters of the Arabic language represent? They are even more than archetypes, even more than essences. They are the most fundamental elements which constitute reality. Beneath the letters, there is nothing but the oneness of God. And the letters really are not different from that oneness of God. If we think about human speech, what is happening when I speak? Ultimately, at the physiological level, all of speech in a phonetic sense is just a gust of air. All of this is just wind blowing through my mouth. But I shape that wind in the sound of letters. I shape this medium of the sound wave, this oscillation. I give it shape and form. That shape and form of the sound waves is the internal structure of language. Wherefore, the sentence has words and the words have letters, and this phonetic structure corresponds to the structure of meanings. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam once said, Inni ajidu nafas ar-Rahman. Verily, I sense the breath of God. The context was, I believe, from the companion Uwais al-Qarni. I need to check it up, but I think when radiallahu anhu, when he was coming to meet the Prophet, I don't think he ever actually met him in person, but essentially some things in this physical world, like this language, manifest deeper spiritual currents. Just like the physical winds cause the atmospheric conditions of climate, so the spiritual winds in the spiritual world create the climate, the spiritual climate, which then creates the physical happenstances of our world. That is the breath of God, the fundamental fabric of reality, from which everything is made. When God spake a thing into being, when he said, kun, be unto that fundamental idea, unto that ma'na, that speaking can be thought of as a form of breathing. Breath is an effusion. When I breathe out, this breath is my breath. It is a part of me. It is a part of me being emanated from me. When it is out of me, is it me or is it not me? Well, there's a duality. That duality is exactly the relationship of everything to God. We have a ruh. Fundamentally, what I am is this ruh. Everything else is accidental. Not just the body, but even the mind, my thoughts, my personality. All of these things are merely the clothing of the ruh. But I am not truly these things. What I am truly is this ruh. Now, am I the ruh? Or is it my ruh? Is the ruh mine or is it God's? Well, there is a duality. God breathed his spirit into man. Is it God's spirit? Is it his breath? Or is it ours? Who does it belong to? That is exactly the duality of everything. Everything has two dimensions, two sides. From one perspective, and it's a true perspective, it's not just a figure of language, it completely belongs to God. The fundamental reality of that thing is God, because there is no true reality but God. He is al-haq. Nothing is real apart from God. So insofar as the thing is real, it's because it is God giving it existence. But then it also is, I am who I am. In that sense, I can say that it is my ruh, insofar as it inhabits me and gives me existence and life. That is the breath of God. Everything is ultimately made from that breath of God, the pure oneness and emanation and diffusion of this august light. Now, the fundamental configurations of this oneness are the letters. That's why, in fact, there's a perfect correspondence here between language and mathematics. And that's why I say that language is equal to mathematics, particularly Arabic. Arabic is mathematics because it is completely mathematical. In language, we have this pure unity which flows into the breath. It flows in the shapes of these letters. So we have an A, B, C, D, or in Arabic, alif, ba, ta, and so on. The fundamental forms of the breath, fundamental configurations of this oneness, its shapes. The analogy is like the number one. There is nothing but the number one, but the number one can take many forms. The number two is merely a form of oneness. It is a form of oneness. The number three is another form of oneness. These are just shapes of oneness. Therefore, the letters are like the numbers. They are the configurations of unity. The relationships of all the letters to the breath is that relationship of all the numbers unto oneness. This, therefore, is that ultimate meaning of the Arabic letters. This is the secret of the Arabic letters. And that is why to study the Arabic letters, or rather to gain knowledge, because this is not a knowledge that we can get. It is not a knowledge that we can merely read from a book, that we can grasp and take. It is a knowledge which is given. Ilmun ladunni, a knowledge of God which he gives. This knowledge of the Arabic letters is the highest knowledge possible. Is the highest knowledge of God, the greatest knowledge of the cosmos. Because, as we said, there is nothing beneath and beyond the Arabic letters. They are the fundamental forms of oneness, beneath which there is but the august brilliance of the oneness of God. And this is the picture of all of creation, an emanation from oneness into multiplicity, a pure manifestation of that light of God, breathed outwards, diffused in this most glorious spectacle which we inhabit, which is all the glory of God, all the beauty of the Godhead coming out and forth. These letters, therefore, are the elements of creation. There are multiple levels of existence, multiple planes of existence. The physical letters which we speak, which we write, which we cognize. The imaginal letters, letters not merely as physical symbols, but having connotations, having imagery attached to them, having a network of senses and denotations. And at an even higher level, there is what we said, the cosmic letters, the letter not even as something manifested, but as the fundamental, elemental archetype which underlies creation, which is the source of all creation. So in every culture, they have these mythic symbols, they have these rune stones or hieroglyphs. They have these fundamental set of letters in one form or another, which underlie all creation. It is the inmost and most fundamental language. You might say in our modern society that these letters have become numbers. Mathematics has taken the place of a sacred language, which is, it's not wrong. Mathematics is the language of God. However, the issue is that our mathematics, our understanding of mathematics is one degraded. When we think mathematics, when we think number, we think quantity. That is the issue. We think of some data sets and quantity, but it is meaning. Meanings are qualities. They cannot be quantized. That is the true understanding of number over here. The true understanding of letter. We have this understanding of al-huruf al-muqatta'at in the Quran. These separate letters which sometimes exist at the beginning of a surah. For example, بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. And so on for many surah of the Quran. There are these letters which begin. Why say I this? Because letters are not just symbols. Letters are not just symbols which make up words. Letters are the sources of words. Letters have meanings. They have a deeper meaning than words. They have the deepest meanings possible. They are the meanings of the deep. They are the ultimate elements which constitute reality. Like in ancient cosmologies, every physical thing at least is constituted of fire, air, water, and earth. We have these four elemental qualities which constitute all of creation. In fact, that entire cosmology is related to this letterism, but that's a topic for another video. But one way to understand this is that these 28 letters of the Arabic alphabet are the 28 elements which constitute all of reality. Like the periodic table, every molecule, therefore every physical substance, is constituted of these irreducible atoms. We get down and down and down at fundamental levels. Eventually, you get to an atom. Atom in Greek simply means something which cannot be broken up further. The letters are the atoms of the Arabic alphabet. They are the atoms which build up all of the words, and the words build up all of creation. That is our inmost cosmological, mystical understanding of the letters, and the science of this is aptly named Ilm al-Huruf. It is the highest science. It's not listed in the hierarchy of sciences because, as I said, this is not merely some science which can be learned from a book. This is a God-given science. It's a science which, at the culmination of knowledge, at the culmination of God realization, is breathed into the soul of the Gnostic. It is a deeply intuitive, mystical science which cannot be simply conversed or communicated. There's something which exists in the heart, in the subtle consciousness, and there alone. But however, there is a scintillation, some glimmering light which each letter has, how it is manifested in the physical plane. This is the science of phonetics, including also phonosemantics. That is not just studying the sounds of languages, but the meanings of these sounds. This is something that we shall speak about very thoroughly and very much in our course. This is how I teach Arabic. When we study vocabulary, when we learn words, when we truly study the Arabic lexicon, we are going to do that by understanding the letters themselves. In the word Rabb, which you might translate as Lord, there is a meaning of this word. It has many meanings beyond lordship, including also education and nurturing and love and compassion, and taking a thing from stage to stage of development and overseeing that. All these meanings come from the letters, the Ra and the Ba, and why the Ra is before the Ba. There is Rabb and Bar. In fact, Al-Bar is also a name of God. Al-Bar means the good with a capital G. In fact, this is a name that Plato gave to God. I should not say that Plato gave to God. It is a name that God gave unto Plato. It is a name that God taught Plato, that he is the good, the absolute good, not just the source of all goodness, but he who everything which is done is good. So if we try to permute these two letters, Ra and Ba, we have another name of God, Rabb and Bar. There is a meaning to the repetition. Why is it Rabba, Rabba, and Bar? So first, to understand this, we have to go through every letter and understand the letter. The first way to understand what are the letters and what are the meanings is to study some phonetics. In Arabic, we might call this tajweed. But again, by tajweed, I don't mean going to some Saturday class and learning how to pronounce a verse in the Quran. That might be a part of it, but no, it's much more. Ilm al-Tajweed is the science of the sounds of the Arabic language. As part of that, we study al-Makharij. The alphabet can be categorized according to the place in the mouth that the letters correspond to. For example, dentals. Dentals are words pronounced somehow using the teeth, like D or T, or anything around that. There's subcategorizations, but that's the dental. Labials, those words pronounced using the lips, B, M. Gutturals, those which come from deeper in the throat, like the sound of A itself, A. Any H sound or Ha, they're all coming from in the throat. And palatals, those words which are pronounced from the top of the mouth, from the palate itself, like a K sound. or a G sound, ga, I mean, ga, ka. Each of these have a meaning. One perhaps is obvious. If it's coming from deep in the throat, we imagine there to be a meaning of depth. And in fact, all of these letters over here, every single letter over here is a deep letter, has a deep meaning. Allah. We have to contemplate upon this, the name of God, the sounds of the name of God. It is a miracle. It is a great thing that we know the name of God. In fact, in the Hebrew Bible, the name of God is called the Tetragrammaton. That is the word of 4 letters, because God did not give his name unto the Hebrews. God did not speak his name unto the Hebrews, apart from unto the high priest. It was the mystery of God. They knew the letters of the name. They knew the root words or the root letters, but they did not know how it was pronounced. We have been given not only the root letters, but also the name itself and how it is pronounced can be contemplated. Of course, we have the alif and the ha. There are the deep letters, and there's a lam, a letter all the way over here. There's a perfect circularity to this divine word. But the ayn is clearly sounds deep. In fact, one meaning of ayn is a deep source of water, an unseen source of water beneath the ground, a spring. That is ayn. That is called an ayn. Ayn is also the eye. Ayn also refers to the essence of something. A'yan. Ha, of course, in hayat. Gha, ghayb. And we can go on. Clearly a meaning of depth over here with the deep letters. If we go to the opposite side with the tha, to pronounce the tha, the F sound, one needs to have a very slight opening with the lips. It's very close to the lips, very close to the opening of the mouth. In fact, the name for the mouth is fam. Or fu. The third sound in Arabic has some meaning of opening. Fataha, opening. Also perhaps fajwa, a gap. Furja, a small hole. Every letter similarly has some general meaning, a general class of meanings, which manifest in the words which are composed of it. One dimension from whence this meaning comes is from its physiological correspondence. I might draw this diagram again. We have there is the physical, perhaps the physiological, that is the bodily Arabic, how Arabic manifests in the body. And there's a perfect mirror of that, because it is mathematical, to the divine, the noetic, the archetypal. The fact that the sound of the ayn is constituted using the depth of the throat corresponds to the fact that the ayn has a deep sound, and so on with every letter. But I want to draw attention to this, and in particular to the idea of the Arabic of the body. The body speaks Arabic. If you have understood all the lectures so far, and if I now tell you that, in fact, every single nerve in your body is speaking Arabic, at least it can speak Arabic. It is possible for your finger to speak Arabic. In fact, it is possible, therefore, for your finger to speak the Quran. If you have understood what we have said so far in all the lectures, you should understand this, or at least assent to it. that one can recite tasbih, one can glorify God with any part of his body. In fact, the entire body can oscillate with the name of God. In fact, it can oscillate with any name of God. And we can align our entire body at the cellular level with a particular name of God. And that will bring about an actual effect in the body. In fact, we can go even deeper. I said that the nerves can speak Arabic because the nerves are conveying electrical impulses, which is the form of language, but everything speaks. An atom speaks. Does an atom not itself too have its own electric fields? Does it not itself have a form of communication? Does it not have a form of repetitive pattern, a mathematical structure, which is capable of speaking, of pulsating and vibrating in certain patterns? Everything speaks and everything can and does speak Arabic. But I've spoken about the places of articulation and how the place where the letter is pronounced corresponds to a meaning. But also the way in which it's pronounced also has a meaning. A very general way, perhaps, is to divide it into the plosives, fricatives, sibilants, and liquid. Plosive is a letter which requires a small explosion of air, like B. To pronounce the letter B, there needs to be some gust of wind being projected forward. B, T, D. There's always a pop, a gust. So the plosives are the ba, ta, ta, dal, dad, ka, and qaf. And notice that in Arabic we have there's a strong letter. The dal has the dad, the ta has the ta, the kaf has the qaf. So there is general meaning of that the plosive has. We have the fricatives, those letters which vibrate, but not. They vibrate by by bringing some two parts together. Like the F is when the teeth are close to the lips, but not exactly touching. There's a small gap. So with the and the Z. The fricatives really might actually be thought of as sibilants. Sibilants S sounds, simple as that. The S sound is very important because you can go S or even sh. There's a continuity to it. Letters which can be pronounced continuously alongside the breath have a very, very deep and special importance. And they will come up quite a lot for that reason. Similar are the liquid letters. Letters which can be continuously pronounced, like the L. For example, the Ra, the repetition of the Ra, karra, has a meaning of repetition. Karra means to literally repeat, or karrara is one meaning, therefore. And we have many, many more such correspondences, which we shall systematically go through as we learn. I want to introduce the broad landscape of the correlation of meanings to phonetics over here. Now, some people have actually recommended, or rather requested me to speak about the meanings of the shapes of the Arabic letters. I shall just introduce that over here, but there is, again, meaning. The Arabic script was not invented by human beings. It may seem like that in the temporal world, but the origin of the script is divine. The script is, I would say, created by God, but even more conceived by God. This is not arbitrary. It's eternal and uncreated. Every shape of the letter has a fundamental meaning which corresponds to something cosmic. I shall give one small foray into that. The letter Alif, the first letter, is but a vertical line. The second letter, the Ba, can be thought of as a horizontal line. In fact, the letter or the symbol for the number 1 comes from the alif. That is why they're called Arabic numerals. The letter 1 is actually the letter alif. So everyone all over the world, whenever they do any mathematics, is using the Arabic letter alif, and in a sense doing a form of worship of God, because that is God's letter. So that's a great curiosity and wonder. But of course, the line would be the first symbol, because the line, going back to Euclid's geometry, is the most fundamental and simple mathematical shape. Or before that, we might say the point. But notice that the line is just a manifestation of the point. The vertical line represents the vertical hierarchies of being. Given every hierarchy of being, we have a horizontal line. There's a downward process of emanation, and at each level, we have the horizontal plane, which corresponds to that. The spiritual plane of existence, the imaginal plane, the physical plane. That is why the unity is symbolized by the vertical line, and this first duality by the horizontal line. In fact, I should also add that in Arabic and in all ancient languages, numbers were written using letters. So for the Greek alphabet, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, simple as 1, 2, 3, 4. And in Arabic, well, you have the abjad. It's actually taken from the Greek, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, alif, ba, jim, dal. This Greek is also profoundly, it's also an ancient and divine language. And one might ask, well, okay, well, how can Greek be a language of God if Arabic is a language of God? Well, it's because they're the same language. They're the same language. Arabic, Hebrew, Greek, Sanskrit. They're all the same language. They just look different on earth. But in heaven, they're all one and the same. And when we speak about this cosmic Arabic, that is what we are speaking about. The reason why the physical Arabic language, Lughat al-Arab, the reason why this language is important, for the same reason why Islam is important. All religions are ultimately the same. The message of each prophet is the same. However, there can be a process where things are lost in time, and therefore there's a process of renewal. And one cannot, if one looks at the Greek language, one looks at Greek religion, it's been lost in time. That's a historical fact. This is lost in time. One cannot do for Greek what we are doing for Arabic. It is impossible. Because the pure, pristine Greek language or Sanskrit language do not exist. But the Arabic language has been perfectly conveyed and transmitted. That's the idea of what the tradition of the Quran represents. It is not just conveying the Quran. It is conveying the entire Quranic tradition, which includes the Arabic language. The entire Arabic language is being preserved and carried on from generation to generation. That is what we are a part of. It is important to understand that when we are doing this work and studying this, this is the greatest treasury of the Sunnah. This is the inheritance of the Prophet, of all the prophets, and our Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what we are inheriting from this. The Arabic language, the mindscape, the meanings, that is what we are learning, inheriting, transmitting. But I shall leave that there perhaps because this requires much, much more space to elaborate. But every letter, the shape has a meaning, whether it is a line, it is vertical, horizontal, whether it is a curve and the shape of that curvature. In fact, in traditional Arabic calligraphy, there are certain angular proportions given to letters. If one writes the qaf and the fa, I haven't studied it, so I don't know the exact ones, but there are angles between the curves which must be preserved. Therefore, it is very geometrical, very mathematical. And in fact, there are proportions between, for example, there are proportions all over here and ratios. And this is why I keep saying that mathematics is equal to Arabic in the same way that Greek is equal to Arabic, and they're all the same language. So to study this truly, it takes us into sacred geometry, it takes us into mathematics, it takes us into the sacred mathematics of the body, into mathematical and ontological physiology, and the grammar of the body. This is a very advanced idea, but very fundamental. The body has a language, the body has a grammar. I shall end this here, and next time we'll speak about the nouns and the verbs, but I do want to bring attention to this over here. So we have the breath of God, pure unity, manifesting in the configurations of unity which we call the letters. These letters each have a hadra. Every letter can be thought of as a universe in itself. There is not just the letter alif and ba, but there is the entire universe of alif and ba. Every letter has a hita, a presence, a hadra, a life. The presence of the letter must be crowned, must be sat upon a throne. A throne, an arsh, is a structure. The body is the arsh of the ruh. This physical body is our throne. This is an arsh. This is a kursi of the ruh. In fact, there's multiple levels of a spirit and a throne, a spirit and a body. The qalb is an arsh. The heart is a throne, in which is sat the intellect and the soul, in which is sat the knowledge of God. As is said in the Hadith Qudsi, ما وسعني السماء ولا الأرض ووسعني قلب عبدي أو كما رواه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, that the heaven and the earth cannot contain me, but the heart of my servant can comprehend me. The heart can comprehend the mysteries of God in its fullest, because the heart is an arsh of God. There is the ultimate archetypal arsh, and there are many urush, which are manifestations of that arsh. But so every letter has a throne, and the thrones of these letters are the fundamental forms of words. The form of the word is not an abstraction which we as humans have seen inside of the language. It is a throne which God created from the pre-eternity, in which he established his letters, established his ideas and archetypes. There are the thrones of words, the thrones of nouns, the thrones of verbs. And so we shall speak about these structures next time in some more detail. But I shall at least mention it before ending here, that we have the forms of the verbal nouns, the masdar. Related to the masdar, you have the noun of doing something one time, the noun of the manner of doing something. For example, you have the verb masha. Masha means to walk. From the masdar of this is mashyun. Mashyun. From that we can derive mashyatun. Mashyatun is to have walked one particular time. This word means one walk. There is also mishya. You change one haraka, and the noun changes. Mashya is a walk. Mishya is one's gait, the way in which one walks. Mishyatuhu, the way that he walks. We have, of course, the active participle and the passive participle, which we have mentioned before. And we're going to see many nouns which begin with a meme. These are nouns of location or of instruments. For example, many people might be familiar with miftah. That is key. The instrument of fatih. The instrument by which things are opened. Maf'al is the place, for example, maghrib. Maghrib is the place of ghurub, the setting of the sun. Gharaba, gharabat ash-shamsu, the sun sets. Or masjid, the place of sujood. Okay, and as for verbs, we have mentioned that there is the active voice and the passive, fa'ala and fu'ila. Now the basic verb, fa'ala, actually has three forms. It can be fa'ala, fa'ula, sorry, it should be fa'ula there, or fa'ila. They each have a meaning. Sami'a, amila, fa'ila has a meaning. Haruma, wahuda, jamula has a meaning. Fa'ula. Fa'ala has a meaning. There is the middle form of the verb, ifta'ala, the passive inchoative form, in fa'ala. The multiplicative form, fa'ala, jahada, jihadan, mujahidatan, tafa'ala, fa'ala, tafa'ala, af'ala, istaf'ala, istaghfara, aslama. So we shall see these again and again and again. And the first thing to really do in an introductory course is to be introduced to all of these verb forms, to be familiar with them, to identify them, and to begin to master them through constant repetition. And if I end this video here, again, I'd emphasize that the way to learn Arabic at the physiological grounded level, because we are learning it not just spiritually and noetically, but also physically. We want to memorize, become a hafid, which is something very physical, requires a lot of discipline. The way to do that is constant work and repetition. Now, that is what all of this takes. But let us leave this here, and next time we shall continue. Assalamu alaikum.